Hey, good morning. It's Thursday, June 18th. Thanks so much for being here. We're just a few days away from Father's Day of 2020. And Father's Day is not a biblical command to celebrate this day. Probably came more from the minds of the folks at Hallmark Cards than actual a religious significance. But nonetheless, it's important for our focus to be on what God wants us to be as fathers. So again, like yesterday and probably tomorrow, men, I'm talking to you as fathers, but it's for moms and sons and daughters and people who want to be fathers and who are thinking about someone who might be a father of your children. This is for you. So in Ephesians 6:4, we looked at this yesterday. Fathers, don't provoke your children to anger by the way that you treat them. Rather, bring them up with the discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. And we spent a fair amount of time yesterday, it's the longest actual video I've done yet, on the anger that we provoke as fathers. And how it's not just an instant thing, but it produces a deep-seated, ongoing anger that is prolonged and does great damage. And we want to avoid all that. We don't want to manipulate or exploit or crush or be insensitive or humiliate. But what is the response to that anger, that provoking thing we do as fathers? How do we not do that and still raise our children in a way which helps them to honor God and live lives that are productive and helpful? Well, the second part of verse 4 tells us how to do that. It says, rather, bring them up with the discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. And the bring them up is, I've said it several times before, the bring them up means raise them, but it's also the same root word combination of nourish. Nourish them. It's nourishment. It's the same word that's in Ephesians 5:29 when it talks about how we're supposed to nourish our wives. We're to nourish our children. It's not just bringing them up and commanding them to do this or that, but actually to see them grow, to flourish, where they're well fed. Not just outwardly, but inwardly. And dads, that comes from you and me. That's our job description. Maybe one of the best ways I can think of to sum this up is the wisdom from above that we looked at again previously from James. This is nourishing your children. Wisdom from above is pure, it's peaceable, it's gentle, it's open to reason, it's full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere. Now I could spend a lot of time, and I have spent time going over each of those qualities. But catch the theme there. If you're raising your children, nourishing them, bringing them up with God's wisdom from above, what results? Peace, settledness. You become a place of safety for your children rather than someone to fear. You want to have your authority mean something. Yeah, you do. But it's going to mean more if your children are nourished. Is peace the goal of your instruction? Or is it getting them to do what you want? You see, that moves us back over into the category of provoking your children to anger. Because you and I are not worthy of telling our children to do something that we want because we deserve it or because it's our right. No, that's not what God's called us to. He's called us to a path of peace. Are you someone who is open to reason? Are you someone that your children can come to and know that they will be cared for with safety, with care, with gentleness, with love? See, dads, that's what God's called us to. We'll do more on this nourishment thing tomorrow, but that's what I want to leave you with today. Don't provoke them, nourish them. Are your children blessed, nourished, fed by your love, by your care? And that's the thought for today. Lord, bless us. Lord, bless us as fathers, because we have to show them the gentleness of Christ. You have a good day. Bye-bye.